Hello everyone. This is Linda with Linda Sue Plants for you. I hope you all had a peaceful, relaxing holiday weekend for those of you that celebrate Thanksgiving, and I hope you got to see some of your family members and were able to do maybe some reminiscing and just enjoying each other's company. Today I want to bring to you a video about a plant that has got me so extremely confused. I feel kind of like a misfit. And I say that because whenever I research a plant, and I don't mean just on YouTube, I mean research the plant through different links through Google, I find so much conflicting information about many things, but one of the things that I've just done here is, and you can see how close this light is to this plant. This is my blue star fern, and as you can see, if I can get this light up here for you, she's very sad looking, isn't she? Now, when I got her, she was in very good shape. She was very healthy and very full. And I had put her in several different spots before I saw her really start to flourish. And then for no apparent reason, she started to decline again. And I am thinking several things that I want to share with you. Now, what I'm hearing, especially from other YouTubers, is she likes high humidity. She can live in low light, but she likes medium to bright light. I can tell you that from my own experience, I have never had her in a place where there is high humidity, and she was doing much better in those places. I can tell you that in my experience, she did well in both low light and high light situations. So I have to assume that what they're trying to say, I hope, is that this plant can grow. It will survive like a ZZ plant. It will survive okay in low light, but it will flourish in high light. But most of the places that I've researched said bright indirect light. Well, I don't know if they're just referring to the sun, because this lamp that I have over it, I have about not even a foot away. I moved it out of the way so that we could record here, but I have it not even a foot away from there. And since I did that, I am getting new foliage. I want to show you the blue, almost aqua colored leaves. I'm not sure if you're just going to see that through the camera, but she has got some very healthy blue blue color, which is what she should have. She's called a blue star fern, or oh, I forget the name. Let me see if I can grab it. Anyway, she grows in the tropical areas. She's a epiphyte, or epiphytic plant. She grows up trees and in the craggy parts of the cruxes of trees and things. And I'm trying to pull up the name here. Okay. Phlebodium aureum. That's her botanical name, Phlebodium aureum. today what I'm going to be doing is taking this plant apart. I'm going to repot her. I'm going to show you what she looks like down inside of there. And I will point out certain things that it is important to know about this plant. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show you where I have her hanging here and how, like I said, this lamp that I have up here, I had what would you say that is, about not quite a foot? And that is a 100-watt equivalent LED bulb. So to me, that's bright light. That's pretty bright, don't you think? And that's when she started getting her new growth. So I'm not sure. And when I say I feel like a misfit, it's because very often the plants that I have in my home that I'm taking care of, I will hear things on the internet that are just the opposite of what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is working. So I know that there are differences in, from home to home as far as humidity and lighting overall. I mean, if you're the type of person that is content or enjoys sitting in front of the TV with a little TV lamp on after dark, in my state it gets dark here about 4:30 now, that would be different from someone who's got their whole house lit up like I do until it's time for me to close my eyes, which is usually around 8:30, 9:30 in there when I'm starting to wind down to go to bed. My lights are on. I try to have them on 12 hours a day throughout the house where I have plants. And because I use LED bulbs, it doesn't cost me hardly anything on my electric bill. In fact, I switched all my bulbs in my house to LED at the same time that I have added 26 lights to my home. And my bill went down. Initially was like $22, and I think it's up to $28 or $29. It's gone down nearly $30 a month since I switched to all LED, because they don't take very much electricity. So, alright, I don't want this video to go into an hour long, so I'm going to cut this off here, and then I'm going to repot this, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to record that. So stay with me here, and I will be back shortly. Okay, and I'm back. So, what I'm going to do here is take this out of this pot, and I think I'm just going to take off the old soil, clean it up a bit, and put it back in this pot. Just because the amount of foliage here I don't think, calls for a larger pot. I don't think this plant is root bound, although it's going to be full of roots probably. I don't think most of those roots are sustaining anything, so we're gonna take this out of here. And see what's happening. I'm gonna bring my trusty dump bowl up here. Most of you recognize that as I used to put my old soil that's going to go in the garbage. I don't like what I'm seeing on here either. There's some white. Not mold, but what is that called? I forgot. It comes from cold and damp conditions. It's not necessarily going to harm the plant, but I don't like it to be on there. Okay. Whoa, that was heavy. Huh. And it's quite wet. I'm not sure why. So that tells me that it's not taking up water very good. And that is not good. Alright, let's take her apart. See what we got going on here. I sure wish the soil was dry. When I repot, I really like to use dry soil because then the soil just falls off of it easily. The only time that my soil is wet when I'm repotting something is if I'm making cuttings from a plant. I will water it the night before, or even, 10, 12 hours before, because when you're doing a cutting, you don't want the plant to spend all its energy trying to get water up to the leaves of that cutting. So it's a smart idea to water it the night before so that the good foliage that's in that pot that you're going to cut off to root is watered up in here. But for just repotting purposes, no, I don't like to do that. And I know I'm not trying to say that one way is better than another. I'm just saying for me, it definitely is much easier. It works much better for me. I mean, you can see how the roots are all, I'm going to have to stand up here. The roots are all, intertwined with each other, and because they're wet, they're heavy. I do not like what I'm seeing here. It's very hard to determine what is going on with these roots without seeing them, without the soil on them. So I am going to shut the camera off and I'm going to work on this. This is going to take me a while. So when I get a little further, I will come back. Alright, so here we go. This is the last of these interruptions. Alright, I have this now. I took it apart. I took all the dead stuff off. I dumped all the bad soil out. There's still a few leaves that have a little brown on them, but I'm not going to cut those off just yet, because there's not much left of her, unfortunately. When I took these out and I cut them, I started to spread them and pull on them, and I could hear them ripping. I could hear them breaking. Now, generally, if you have roots that are suffering root rot, they're not going to make that sound. They're just going to disintegrate in your hand. So I know I was doing some damage, and I know there's a school for thought out there where you don't, I've had people comment and say to me, don't worry, because I do that all the time and it doesn't hurt the plant. And, that may very well be true, but I can't help but feel that maybe the plant would have gotten bigger faster, or maybe it would have been healthier. I don't know. I mean, it just stands to reason to me, if you've got good roots in there and they're feeding the plant, and you damage those roots or cut them off, it's going to affect the plant somehow. Now, maybe not enough to where it matters. I don't know. But what I did is I took these 3 clumps. I got as much as I could off, and there were big, for instance, on this one, this had another clump as big as what's on here hanging off of it, and a lot of it was dead. As I was pulling it apart, it was just mush. So I took off as much as I could without totally disturbing the root system. If this was summer, I would have taken this outside and put a gentle hose on it and tried to get off as much of that old soil as I could. But because it's not, I'm not gonna try to do that. I'm hoping this is gonna be sufficient, what I did here. And now I'm at the point where I'm adding my fresh soil back into the pot. And that's all I'm going to do with this. I'm not going to water it, obviously, because it's the roots were so wet. And they are a bit of a tuberous root. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe there. So they do hold water. So I do not want to overwater this plant. I would be sick if I lost it due to overwatering, because that's just... I used to be a chronic overwaterer. I killed plants because I took too good a care of them. And I had to learn over the years to stop doing that. And I did. I kind of did that with my kids and grandkids too. And I don't know if I ever learned on that one, but you know, I'm not going to apologize for that. I'd rather be accused of being too nurturing than not nurturing enough. And I think most of us would agree to that. So, all right. I'm going to fill up the soil here. And then I think we're going to call it a day. And then I'm going to hang it up in my dining room in the opposite window of my kangaroo paw fern, because these both require similar care. And that plant took off like crazy. So if you remember that, I almost lost that plant, and I was told that they can go dormant, and that might very well be what happened. But it was down to 1 leaf, so I got pretty sad about that. I thought I was going to have to just give up on it, and I loved it so much I just didn't want to give up on it. So I left it in that south window, and I kept a close eye on it, and I did kind of a chronological following on that one. You can see on my previous videos, you'll be able to see what that looked like in several different windows and areas of my house, and the last video being one that was where it was almost gone. And then there's another video that shows the little tiny stub that all of a sudden popped up. I saw a little tiny green, and I got so incredibly excited about that. And it went from that to being a full-blown beautiful plant again, and I'm hoping that's what's going to happen here. I'm just sticking in 2 little pieces that fell out, but they're still viable, and the little tuber there that felt hard, firm, so I think it's going to be okay. Like I said, I'm not going to water this tonight because it's definitely got plenty of water in the roots. And another thing that may have caused the browning on these leaves is I had quite a few plants do this right after I used an organic fertilizer. And I know I've seen other people rave about that same fertilizer, so that's why I thought I would try it. But I was a little confused and dismayed because within days, actually, at least within the first week, I ended up with these kinds of spots on a lot of my plants that never had any problems, any issues, this kind of damage. And it wasn't because I used too much, because I actually used only a quarter of what the directions called for. So I'm not sure if it's just because my plant wasn't used to it, or I don't know. I don't know. Like I said earlier in this video, sometimes I feel like such a misfit because when I try to do things that other people do, it doesn't work for me, and I'm not sure why. But I'm not concerned about it because I have things that I do that other people have tried with great success. So I guess it's all just relative to each person, each plant. You know, I've heard people say, I water this on a regular basis. Well, what does that mean? I mean, for some people, a regular basis might be once a week. Some people, it might be once a month. Some people, it might be once a day. I've heard people say, I have to get this out of this pot because it's drying out too fast, and I'm watering this plant like every 3 days. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, if that's all you got to do, you're doing good. And that's based on my own experience of my plant with that same type of pot. So we can't compare our stuff to other people because we don't know what their habits are as far as their heat, their air conditioning. Do they have fans going? Do they have, do they cook a lot with their oven, which dries out your house? So there's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to the atmosphere for your plant. And I can't stress that enough. So be careful when you're trying to learn things from the internet. Do diligent research. Don't just take one person's word for anything, including mine, because I am definitely not an expert. I just repeat what it works for me. And I've had, friends and relatives that have called and asked me about a problem they were having, and I said, well, I can't really tell by what you're saying without seeing the plant, and that's often the case. Sometimes I can help them. I've had some of my subscribers that have written and thanked me because they took my advice on something or tried, something that I do, and it worked for them, and that made me feel so good. But, that it's not always the case, so just be careful. But anyways, I'm rattling now, I guess. I'm done, folks. I did 2 videos today. Well, I started this video a couple days ago, and then we got interrupted here, and I wasn't able to finish. And then in the meantime, my plants came in the mail, and I can't put that off, so I had to do my unboxing, and we got that done. That's actually, by the time you see this video, that one will already have been downloaded to YouTube. So I'm going to try, I've never done this before, but I'm going to try to put this in the show it later box, schedule it for tomorrow to load to YouTube, and hopefully that will work. And well, I was going to say wish me luck, but by the time you see this, it'll be too late. So I hope this works, and I hope that you're all able to view this tomorrow. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I'm going to call it a day. Thank you again so much for coming by and listening to me ramble about things and what have you. lot of more things that have to be repotted and moved and things that I have to do. So come on back and share that with me. In the meantime, I hope you all have a very pleasant day. Thank you so much. Bye now.